What's up, Black Coffee Crew? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at a segment from The Daily Show where Jon Stewart tackles the question of whether the Democrats are right to accuse Trump of being a fascist. Now, Stewart is a comedic legend, but I think he misses a crucial point, which is the hypocrisy of the left and the Democrats. So grab your coffee and let's get into it.
Chaos on Wall Street.
We are in the middle of a market sell-off.
Tech stocks sent the markets into a tailspin today.
Tech stocks have just taken a battering.
Will there never be peace? A powerful new Chinese AI tool called DeepSeek is threatening the U.S. dominance of this emerging technology.
DeepSeek is on par with what OpenAI and Google have made, even though those companies are sinking billions of dollars, tons of years, and lots of development into this space. DeepSeek did it for cheaper in a matter of months.
As you can see, Stewart starts by talking about Trump's return to the White House and the market sell-off due to China's AI advancements. Then he moves to the firing of government watchdogs and questions whether it is a purge. He points out the Democrats' outrage, but then dismisses it as a matter of not giving a 30-day notice and a detailed rationale.
Night massacre.
Late Friday night purge. A chilling purge.
The purge.
Ah! Trump has ushered in the purge!
Breaking news, the mass firing of government agency watchdogs.
Trump fired at least 17 inspectors general.
No!
Stewart then moves on to Trump's pardon and executive actions, saying that although they are problematic, they are within the confines of the established system. He even says, don't hate the player, hate the founding fathers. Then he addresses the birthright citizenship executive order, which he calls authoritarian, but the court blocks it, which he sees as a win for the system.
Donald Trump's decision to fire 12 of the federal government's independent watchdogs is a glaring sign that it's a golden age. And Donald Trump's decision to fire 12 of the federal government's independent watchdogs is a glaring sign that it's a golden age for abuse in government and even corruption.
Okay, here's my first issue. Stewart trivializes the Democrats' concerns by focusing on the 30-day notice requirement when the real issue is the removal of independent watchdogs who are there to hold the government accountable. It is not about a font, as Stewart suggests, but about the potential for unchecked corruption. He fails to acknowledge that by firing these watchdogs, Trump is getting rid of people that could be holding him accountable. Stewart argues that Trump's actions are democratically granted because Republicans control all branches of government, as if the people elected them freely and fairly. This ignores the fact that Trump and the Republicans came to power by exploiting the system, and that their power is not from the majority of Americans, but from a minority.
Section 403 of the U.S. Code, federal law, an inspector general may be removed by the president.
There is a specific law that requires notice, 30 days, and a statement of reasons, substantive and detailed rationale.
These pardons are sick. They are offensive. They are un-American.
This is one of the most egregious, despicable acts in American history.
This is textbook authoritarian takeover 101.
Then he dismisses the fascist label by arguing that Trump's actions are taking place within the democratic system, ignoring the fact that a system can be democratic while still having abuses of power. Stewart then argues that Democrats should explain how they would use the same power if they had it. He is saying that instead of calling Trump a fascist, the Democrats should show what they would do with the same power that Trump is using. He fails to see the hypocrisy and problematic nature of this statement. Now, this is where we get into the hypocrisy of the left and the Democrats. Stewart's argument fails to acknowledge the Democratic Party's hypocrisy. The Democrats and the left have been using the fascist label for a long time, even before Trump. But when they had the power, they did not hesitate to use the same tactics that they are now criticizing.
President Trump deploying executive action to end birthright citizenship.
This unconstitutional, un-American attack.
Shredding our Constitution.
Wants to be a strongman authoritarian.
We do begin tonight with the federal judge blocking President Trump's executive order that would end birthright.
Donald Trump promised to be a dictator on day one, and he's carried that forward through the entire week.
5 days into this administration, the abuse is already rampant.
Throughout the rest of the week, shredding the Constitution as he went.
On a fascism scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being peak fascism, how would you rate Trump's first week?
Here's the thing. The Democrats are often guilty of the same kind of overreach and power grabs they accuse Republicans of. They criticize Trump for his executive orders, but when they're in power, they're just as quick to use executive orders, sometimes even exceeding what they called overreach when the other party was in power. They complain about the politicization of the judiciary, but they also engage in the same kind of political maneuvering when they have the chance. They have consistently pushed the boundaries of executive power while in office. The Democrats are guilty of similar behavior when they have power, so they don't have a leg to stand on when they accuse Republicans of abusing power. Here are some examples of hypocrisy by the Democrats. Executive orders. Democrats, like Presidents Obama and Biden, have also used executive orders extensively, sometimes in ways that critics have called overreach. Judicial appointments. Both parties have engaged in the politicization of the judiciary, attempting to push through ideologically aligned judges, often with disregard for the idea of meritocracy. Rhetoric and division. Democrats often use inflammatory language, sometimes also contributing to the polarization of the country that they accuse the right of doing. These examples serve to demonstrate that the Democratic Party engages in the same behavior they accuse Republicans of and therefore are hypocritical. Stewart also points out that Trump's actions are happening within the democratic system, which is true, but he fails to acknowledge the hypocrisy of the left and the Democrats when they call out Trump's actions while having been complicit in allowing the executive branch to gain so much power. By stating that it is our fault that Republicans have control of the branches, he seems to be dismissing the fact that the system is flawed and that it allows for abuses of power. The Democratic Party has taken advantage of this in the past and continues to do so. Instead of acknowledging their hypocrisy, they focus on the fascist label and blame the other side without taking any responsibility for their own actions. Then there's the idea that Democrats should explain how they would use the same power. By focusing on this argument, Stewart is missing the point and not challenging the system itself and the amount of power that is concentrated in the executive branch. He fails to acknowledge that the system is flawed and that all presidents and parties have been abusing it for a long time. He seems to be saying that as long as Trump is doing it democratically, then it is fine. Ultimately, what Stewart is saying is that it is all our fault, and we should just accept that this is the way the system works, even if it has enabled abuses of power. He does not address the hypocrisy of the left and the Democrats, nor does he challenge the system itself. He seems to be saying that because it is happening democratically, that it is not fascism. However, we can have a system that is democratic and still have abuses of power that should be labeled as fascist. So, what's the takeaway here? Well, it's not enough to just point fingers and call the other side names, especially when you have been complicit in allowing the system to get to this point. We need to acknowledge our own hypocrisy and push for systemic change, not just blame the other side. We need to challenge the system and the amount of power that is concentrated in the executive branch. The fascist label is a distraction that fails to acknowledge our own part in allowing abuses of power to continue. That is it for today's episode, Black Coffee Crew. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like and share this video. Until next time.